Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Hump Day Wednesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields live from the American Metal Roofs studio right here on the Avenue of Michigan, just a couple blocks from the Capitol. American Metal Roofs partnered with us Monday to have the naming rights for this studio. They invite you, and I invite you to come down and visit sometime. It's the American Metal Roofs studio. If you want more information about American Metal Roofs, you can go to AmericanMetalRoofs.com. We have this storefront studio. It's right here a couple blocks from the Capitol, right across from the baseball stadium. In fact, if you happen to be coming in for the Michigan Association of Broadcasters convention, stop by and have a look-see right through the window. It's like the Today Show or ABC or WGN in Chicago, where you can watch the show, and we have a one-up on them. The Today Show does not have its own coffee house. If you go to New York City, to Rockefeller Center, you watch through the window, that's all you can do. We actually have a coffee house literally attached to the studio. So you can have your BNI meeting, you can bring your Rotary group here, you can bring your kids if you want to show them what a TV and radio show looks like, have a cup of coffee with us, be part of the show even in some cases. So it's right here, a couple blocks from the Capitol, and if you're coming maybe with your kids on a Capitol tour or doing anything at the Lansing Center, drop on down because we have a lobby full of memorabilia, and we'd love to see you. You can see us if you're in the Lansing area on Fox 47 television, too. The show is broadcast on TV, and we put that on YouTube for everyone else around the state who can't see Fox 47 here in the state capitol, and you can get to that through MichiganTalkNetwork.com. It is a Wildcat Wednesday on this program, brought to you by Northern Michigan University in Marquette. And Gary Austin is our anchor man. He's joining us right now. Good morning, Mr. Austin.
Yes, Michael Patrick, here we are, and it's midweek already, is that right?
Wednesday it is.
It is.
It's Ash Wednesday, in fact.
Yes.
Let us not forget that yesterday was Punchki Day, was Mardi Gras Day, and just about now in New Orleans is when they're wrapping it up at Pat O'Brien's Bar. They told us in the French Quarter that they would go till 5 a.m., which, given the 6 Eastern, but anyway, it's right about now that they're going to kick everybody out of there and start cleaning up.
So that's the deal. Hey, you know what
else? They
went
all night.
You know what else day it is today?
Tell me.
It's Leftover Punchki Day.
Yeah, no, there's about 6 of them sitting in the lobby here of our American Metal Roofs studio, and I don't know what to do with them. We're going to keep them for ammunition in case we ever have to, have a rock fight out in front of the studio.
Like little baseballs. Yeah, we have a few errant punchkis around here, too. And oddly enough, we have a few half punchkis. You ever see people do this? You know who you are. There you are. You're at the punchki trough, right? You take one out of the box. You don't want to eat the whole thing. You don't want to appear like a pig. So what do? You tear it in half, both hands on each half, right? And you set one half down. And then you take the other half and walk away with it, assuming someone's going to come along, seeing fingerprints.
No, I don't think so.
In the half punchki that they left behind. Who's going to eat that? So we have a bunch of halves lying around.
That's just great. There's a landfill out back there, isn't there?
A landfill of punchkis?
Landfill. You could just bury them and have a ski hill. You remember yesterday I told you that I was going to speak to the Wyandotte Rotary? I do a lot of these lunchtime speeches at different service clubs and that kind of thing.
That's kind of your thing. You're into that.
It's fun, and we get a chance to meet people, and it's a gas. But yesterday, I've talked to groups as big as 400, and yesterday's group in Wyandotte, Michigan, which is a 7-square-mile city down on the Detroit River, that's where I grew up, this tiny little town, right?
Yeah.
So I was going back to Wyandotte, south of Detroit, and I was extra nervous about it. You might remember me saying, because, Thomas Wolfe said you can't go home again, remember? And some people have always told me, you're always a bum in your hometown. So I was just extra nervous about it because it's a small group, 30 people, no microphone, very casual.
And you're someone who never gets nervous with this sort of thing.
No,
right?
I get nervous every time, but this was
you really?
extra nervous.
You're always so cool and calm. You're like cool as a cucumber up there. You don't strike me, but inside you're kind of jittery. Is that it?
Well, yeah, and especially in front of this group because they're in Wyandotte. Our show doesn't air there, so they have to be. They're not familiar with it. And, it's been a while since I've been down there. And so some of the people knew me, but, some of the people were meeting me for the first time, and it was a small group and extra pressure, and it was my hometown. So I studied, and I had it all ready, and I had it all set up, and I got there, and it was in a little, like an arts center that was a Masonic temple at one time. So they were seated in, folding chairs around a table, and I got up, and I used my best stuff. Gary, I opened up with some of the funny stuff, and I had some of the funny stories, and here's what the response was.
All right. Oh, no.
Yeah, they just kind of stared at me.
Wow. Heavy artillery and all, and it didn't go over.
Yeah, my usual laugh lines I usually get, like, great
what
response.
happened?
Here's what it sounded like. Yeah. They just
Not
kind of
good.
stared at me.
So only the crickets were making noise.
Oh, yeah, and and if you don't get them early when it comes to giving speeches, forget it. And I thought I had them. I mean, my opening line usually provokes laughter and sometimes applause, and it did. But after that, man,
Wow.
no, they just stared.
So what happened?
Well, I
but you
did the
don't
best
know.
I could. I just
Yeah.
kind of, I got a couple of 3 laughs, but I'm used to getting, I'm used to having some fun with people. They were just
Well, you
a
know
little
what?
stiff.
Even the best hitters in Major League Baseball do not go 4 for 4 every game. Right. That's the way
I'm glad I didn't see a tape of what happened there because
we should note here, too, this news and information and Michael Patrick Shields' exploits update brought to us by the beautiful guaranteed American Metal Roofs outfit. Learn more at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. That's AmericanMetalRoofs.com, and these things are beautiful.
Bring us the news then this morning, if you would, sir.
Did you know the line between work and home life has been blurred?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What do you think causes all of that? Here we are. We're doing our thing at work. Yeah, absolutely, positively right. Cell phones, email, and texting, more of us are bringing that home with us. Why? Because it's so darn easy. That's why. It's so mobile. Talk about a mobile office. Don't even really think about it. But a new study is out suggesting when family life gets interrupted a lot by work, women feel a higher level of psychological distress than men. Who knows? Who knows? The survey.
Well, all this technology was supposed to make things more convenient and easy. It just made us busier, didn't it?
It's true. It's true. And women more frazzled, probably because of the kids and all that. They have more of that role, and then they have to come back and tend to that, and then they have.
Wait, Gary, did you just say
This is
something
Amanda
about
Wall.
women?
Amanda Wall's about to speak.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Did you just say that women take care of children?
Oh, no.
They have to stay home and take care of them?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't
They
even
do.
suggest that. Here's what I was driving at.
Michael.
Well, what? Doesn't a mother want to stay home with her child? I know lots of people that had a child and said, I'm not working anymore. I don't want to leave my
Don't
my
fathers
child.
want to stay home with children
Well, that's
too?
true.
Yeah,
it goes both ways. But I think
given
women,
somebody's got to go to
maternally,
work.
Amanda, women maternally, they just kind of feel that thing with the kids. And, I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. I think
my
that women,
goodness,
just
you
because, they get, they
Hey,
have
this is the real world, Amanda. I know that you're 24 and you think that women are the same as men and all that, but you cannot deny.
Women are the same as men.
Yeah, you cannot deny that there's a bond between a mother and a child because she carried that child for 9 months.
Right.
It's you can't deny it.
Something
It's
a man
a
doesn't
very
do.
strong bond, and
That's a good
you see lots of times. I know a number of women who said, I just can't bring myself to go to work anymore. I don't want to leave my child with daycare. I don't want to leave my child with someone else. And some of them don't have the choice. They have to both work. I don't know. What happened to us, Gary, that both a mother and a father have to work, and they just make money so that they can pay for the daycare. What sense?
Well, it's
terrible, isn't it?
It's the economic situation as it is. And Amanda, it's not just Michael Patrick and I who are saying this. A survey of more than 1,000 U.S. workers said so, published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior. Did you know the federal government is spending money like...
Wait a minute. We'll
crazy?
open up the phones on this one. 888-900-9966.
So what's the question?
888-900-9966.
Do women have more of a feeling that they have to stay at home because the maternal thing with kids? Is that it?
Well, that could be part of it, but do you rue the day that technology came around and made
that's
you
a good one.
wired
I
to
like
the
that.
point that it disrupts
Yes.
your family dinner?
Yes.
But then on the other hand, if your kids are down the street and they're at Billy's house and you want them to come home, it's pretty easy to send them a text or pick up the phone and call them. So it's like a double-edged sword, right?
I know. The question is technology, weighing the good and the bad, is it all worth it? Or have we taken this too far?
Where's it going next?
Yeah, I know. That's the scary part. Think of all the stuff we've got. We were talking the other day about internet. Remember that? We had, when internet first started, we had dial-up. And we'd say to each other, wow, just think, we're going to be on the World Wide Web in 3 minutes. This is terrific. And now if we're not on in 5 seconds, we go nuts.
Yeah. And there's voice recognition now, and they're going to have a little chip that they plant in your head, and you'll be able just to think, and your mind will become a search engine. That's what's going to happen.
I tell you what.
Mark my word. I read it in Time Magazine.
Yep. All right.
888-900-9966. 888-900-9966 if you want to weigh in on anything we've been talking
And
about.
all of this.
Has technology gone too far?
And all of this while the federal government is spending money like hotcakes.
Yep.
The largest monthly deficit in history was posted last month
Wow.
by our friends in Washington.
What did we get for it?
Well, I don't know. What did we get for it? Well,
What
we
did we
have
get?
we have high unemployment.
Oh.
We have a massive debt,
Oh,
and
that's
we
good.
owe a ton of money to China. That's what we have
Oh.
to show for it.
Thank
There
you. That's a nice start to the morning. 18
True.
minutes after the hour in the American Metal Roofs studio here in Lansing. That news brought to you by American Metal Roofs. It's 18 after the hour. We're back in a flash. 22 minutes after the hour, live from the American Metal Roofs studio in Lansing, Michigan. We're in the state capital, and so we're broadcast, though, on stations all across the state of Michigan. That includes St. Joe, Benton Harbor, Muskegon, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Saginaw, Lansing, Hastings, Traverse City, Petoskey, Mount Pleasant, and every little where in between. It's nice to have you with us this morning. Can diet pop make you fat? This is Ash Wednesday, and a lot of people are going to be fasting today. Some people have given up things for Lent. I've given up a soda pop of all kind because I heard that even diet soda can contribute to weight gain or keep you from losing weight. We're going to talk with an expert a little bit later. Is it true? United States Senator Carl Levin will be with us a little bit later in the program, too, and Congressman Mike Rogers from the Intelligence Committee. He is the chair, in fact, the Republican from Brighton. And we're going to go live to Indianapolis, where the Big Ten basketball tournament is going to take place. And we'll get you a full sports report coming up shortly, too. The Answer Man is coming in about 10 minutes, if you want to stay tuned for that. David Seelig is with us on the other end of our line. Now, why is David Seelig on? Well, David Seelig is a federal tax practitioner. And every once in a while, you get this news about celebrities who find themselves in tax trouble. For instance, Al Pacino owes $188,000 in unpaid taxes. How does that information become public knowledge? Well, we're going to find out right now from David Seelig. You can find him at TrueTaxHelp.com. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for having me on your program.
So the star of The Godfather, who we presume has lots and lots and lots of money, suddenly finds himself $188,000 being owed to the IRS. How does that happen to celebrities? Is that like a simple oversight, $188,000?
Well, it's possible. I do have to tell you, in the case of Al Pacino and Martin, excuse me, it's a little early in the morning for me to pronounce his name correctly.
Yeah.
They both had the same business manager who was subsequently convicted for various financial frauds, Kenneth Starr. They're looking to him. But what I've seen in my practice, frequently it is monies that were just not included in their taxes when they determine their AGI. A lot of times it's from monies that they've earned overseas or in royalties or in items that are given to them that are assessed tax liability on. To address your other question, how it becomes public record, it's really one of two ways. Number one, the federal government secures a lien, which is a notice to their creditors that the government is first in line to be paid, and that's a matter of public record. Or, more often than not, someone from the celebrities camp speaks out in a failed effort to try to mitigate the damages, and that usually does not work. It usually goes the other way.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say, wow, $188,000 oversight. To the average person, that sounds big, but when you're talking about the kind of money that they deal with, maybe it is a simple oversight. But the message really, not only for Al Pacino and Uma Thurman and Lauren Bacall and all the rest, is that you ultimately are responsible despite the fact that your tax preparer does your taxes, right? I mean, you sign on the dotted line. It's not, you can't say to the IRS, well, it's his fault, he screwed it up, can you?
Well, no. You can certainly bring it up to perhaps mitigate penalties, but the fact of the matter is, and your listening audience should pay heed to this, when you sign that tax return, you are signing it under the penalties of perjury. So you're saying, look, I read this document, and even if I didn't, I understood it. I'm standing behind it. And that is a difficult burden to overcome.
At the same time, there are people who take a shot at doing their own taxes on computer software or just on the paperwork. I mean, is there any way to know? Is there a reasonable percentage of people who try to do it on their own?
Well, sure, a lot of people do it on their own.
Yeah.
And
Are they missing
do a very
out?
good job at it.
Do they really?
Sure, I've seen some wonderful tax returns prepared by people in all different fields, from medical doctors to construction workers to nurses' aides. But the point is, if you're receiving a lot of 1099s from various companies and you're involved in, let's say, complicated property ownership schemes, or you're receiving K-1s from partnerships, or you're a member of an LLC, you really should get a qualified CPA or tax return preparer to go through it, and not someone who is just dabbling a little bit at it. I mean, this is a complicated world we're living in. The government has stepped up enforcement. If you are audited, particularly if you have a Schedule C, the consequences can be very severe, and it's expensive to defend. So you should try to do it the right way the first time. There's nothing wrong with doing your own tax returns, but if you're over your head, or you start becoming a little creative, or you think you're entitled to things that you really know you're not, maybe it's time to get someone else.
Let's say, just for fun, that you're a married couple and you both work and you both pay taxes through the companies that you work for, but you also have a little cookie baking business where you put out cookies once a week, and you have a rental, not a rental, but you have a summer home in Harbor Springs that you go to in the summertime. Okay, that's your basic footprint of what you're looking at. How much should it cost, on average, for a couple in that situation to get proper, tax return service?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I would say, and keep in mind, I'm in New York City, so I don't know what the going rate is in Michigan, where you are. I would say probably $600 and up. Alternatively, if you were, and that is a complicated situation. In other words, the cookie business is not making a profit. You wish to offset your losses against your taxable income that the husband and wife are making. The rental home, okay, there's no deduction on that. I would say probably $500 or $600 to have it done correctly. But, again, if the individual has a little patience, they can certainly do it themselves. There's a great deal of resources available to everybody. The whole thing that I see where people get in trouble in is they see a deduction in everything they read. And at the end of the day, they go, wow, isn't this amazing? With the CPA, I would have had to pay $7,000, and look at this, I'm getting a refund. No, look at this, a few months down the line, you're getting audited.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you're talking about $600 in a situation like that, and you might just make it up, in what the tax preparer finds that you don't know about, conversely. And the other thing is, that's tax deductible, the amount you pay to the tax preparer, right?
Well, only a portion of it is. For instance, the business portion is, and there is a step up. I believe it's 2% of the adjusted gross income. After that, your expenses are deductible. You'll forgive me, that's for a defense. For the preparation of the business, you can certainly write that off as a business expense. The individual, however, that will not be because of the step-ups. The main thing, though, is, you've heard the expression, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I would strenuously advise your listening audience, you can't just do this on the price. Like, I've seen some very competent return preparers who are priced very fairly. And alternatively, I've seen some people who are very inexpensive who create a lot of problems. And it's not because they're negligent. It's because they're taking claims that people aren't entitled to. Over the years, I have quite literally had thousands of people come into my office and tell me, oh, I didn't know they deducted this. I didn't know they did that. And it's just not true. If you're getting a large refund you know you're not entitled to, something wrong is happening, and you may get caught. It's not guaranteed that you will, but you may get caught. And if you do, it's expensive. You lose whatever savings you may have gotten.
Just in general, is the IRS busy doing audits these days? Are they?
Oh, yes.
Are they really?
Most certainly. You have a great deal of, as I said, Schedule C audits. People who, are running small businesses, perhaps in addition to their regular taxable income. They are certainly looking at itemized deductions. People who take various things that they may or may not be entitled to. You have a great deal of new hiring at the Internal Revenue Service, and part of that is real training. So it is not uncommon that an audit may be effectuated almost as a training exercise. However, we like to believe that it's just not arbitrary, that in fact they are using the DIF score or what have you, and, looking to catch underpayments and such. But like everything else, I believe there is a degree of phishing.
Be forewarned. Be forewarned, says David Seelig, the federal tax practitioner. We can go to truetaxhelp.com for more details.
Hey, yes, sir, and thank you very much for having me on your program. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Live from New York City this morning, it's David Seelig, truetaxhelp.com. We are live in our American Metal Roofs studio here in the Capitol, and today, the Space Shuttle. This gives me a chance to bring out my little toy that I like so much if you're watching on television. Space Shuttle Discovery is going to be on final approach to Kennedy Space Center. Actually, they already are. They will land at, I'm told, in the 11 o'clock hour Eastern time this morning. That'll be the first space shuttle to be taken out of service. The ship's being retired after spending 365 days in orbit over the past 27 years. That is a service history that astronaut Mike Barrett says is worth noting.
When we bring Discovery home, it's a time to celebrate. I mean, the legacy that this spaceship has made for herself is just nothing more than cause for celebration.
That was first launched all the way back in 1984, and it was used to deploy the Hubble Space Telescope, docked later to the Mir Space Station and the International Space Station. And it could be a bit windy at Cape Canaveral, but the touchdown is scheduled for 11:57 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. And apparently the shuttle's performance, old though it is, during this 13-day mission has been flawless.
Discovery is just really at the top of her game and performing like a champ.
Terrific, and it, of course, is going to have a great legacy among the space shuttle ships.
What will be the next ship named Discovery? The next ship to bear this name hopefully will go further than this one and make every bit as much of a contribution to history and to discovery as this ship.
35 minutes after the hour, the Answer Man is next. It's Michael Patrick Shields on a Wildcat Wednesday, brought to you by Northern Michigan University. Find us right here in our American Metal Roofs studio, right here by the Capitol, where the Michigan Association of Broadcaster Convention is going on over the next day or two. And so stop on and visit us if you're here. We're going to have some special visitors coming up in just a couple of minutes who won MAB awards. We have been lucky. We've won, I think, 4 years in a row now. So we'll see how that goes tonight at the. And if we do win again for network morning radio show best, we're going to send Tony Cuthbert up there to collect the award because he's the newest addition to the show and doing an outstanding job of really adding in all the music and the sound effects and taking care of the guests. And he's a bright, polite, and very creative, talented fellow who, if you've ever wanted to know what it was like to be an air traffic controller and land jumbo jets at O'Hare Airport over the lake in a thunderstorm, that's what his job is like, doing all the controls and managing all of these network connections and everything else. So if there's an award to be won tonight, unfortunately, Tony, you don't get to give a speech or anything like that. You just sort of go up there and smile and all that kind of thing. But you don't get to say, I'd like to thank the Academy on behalf of, well, you don't get to do any of that.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Don't just wave and bow. And, you can do a Cuba Gooding where you jump up around and do handstands and all that stuff, but they don't let you talk.
Darn.
So that's tonight at the Lansing Center. Gary Austin, of course, is part of the team that has won these awards in the past, and he's won his own awards, too, for news. And congratulations and welcome back to the program, Mr. Austin. Yeah, he's a very quiet kind of fella, and so he's very shy. See, so Gary said he took it to heart when I said you don't get to give any sort of special thank yous. Anyway, we'll be back with Gary in just a minute with the answer man. Oakland University is the first team in the state of Michigan to punch their ticket for the NCAA tournament. They took the Summit League title yesterday easily with a 90-76 win over Oral Roberts University. Keith Benson had a double-double. In fact, the Golden Grizzlies, he had 26 points, 14 rebounds, and so there you go. You remember back in 2005, Oakland University beat Alabama A&M in the play-in game, but then lost to North Carolina in the first round. And last year, Oakland bowed out of the tournament with a first-round loss to Pittsburgh, but they are a tough team. And it's entirely possible that they could be one of those sleeper threats in the NCAA tournament. Let's hope so, and congratulations for that team from Michigan, from Rochester, Michigan, in fact, making it into the NCAA tournament. The Tigers lost to the Florida Marlins yesterday 9-5. In Lakeland, Florida, Max Scherzer roughed up in the outing, surrendered 5 earned runs on 8 hits over 2 1/3 innings. So that's probably the worst performance of the Tigers in preseason so far in the Grapefruit League. They're going to stay at Joker Marchant Stadium and host Philadelphia this afternoon for all the lucky people there in Florida who can hang out and watch baseball in the sun. Even though tests showed no damage to his elbow, Joe Zulmaya will be off the mound for at least the next 2 weeks. He's been sidelined since February 27th, and an examination yesterday did not reveal the cause of the inflammation to his right elbow. He's a relief pitcher, been advised to rest his arm for the next couple of weeks, and if that inflammation has not gone down, his elbow is going to be tested again, and he might even miss the beginning of the season. That's not the news we were hoping for Joel Zumaya after he had to leave the season early last year with that elbow problem. Red Wings are back on Joe Louis Arena ice tonight. They've got the Los Angeles Kings in a first of a 2-game homestand. Red Wings right now are in a 3-game losing slump, but that was on the West Coast, and it's almost like things that happen in hockey on the West Coast don't count. But that 5-4 overtime loss to Phoenix on Saturday was really bad because I think they blew a 3-goal lead in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Pistons begin a 3-game road trip with a stop in San Antonio against the Spurs tonight. That's not going to be easy. San Antonio, I think, has the best record in all of the NBA. 43 minutes after the hour right now, the Miami Heat had their 5th straight loss. This is supposed to be the dream team, I thought. Started out the season wobbly there with LeBron James, then put it all together, and now they're under fire. You remember the coach said that some of the players were crying after they lost to Orlando on Sunday, and he said, basketball, there's no crying in basketball, but it made a lot of news, and now another loss on top of it is making things uncomfortable. But if you can't stand the heat, get out of Miami, right? Ohio State suspended its football coach, Jim Tressel. 2 games. He violated NCAA rules. Tressel is now admitting he knew last April that some of his players sold memorabilia but didn't report it. He knew that. Now, remember, we learned about that in December before the bowl game. They got to play in the bowl game anyway because Jim Tressel let them do it. But all of a sudden now, the news comes that he knew that they were selling memorabilia and trading for tattoos all the way back in April. He was fined, too, Tressel, for this, I think, $250,000 of his pay. But what will happen next? Because those are just the Ohio State sanctions. Will the NCAA come in and make it worse? We're going to see about that there. What's round on the ends and high in the middle? Ohio feeling low today in Columbus. The former New York Giants running back Tiki Barber wants to make an NFL comeback. He and his client have filed the appropriate papers with the league office. He's turned 36 next month. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He retired in 2006. He wants back into the action. It is a Wildcat Wednesday brought to you by Northern Michigan University. And that little sports report is brought to you by AARP, a membership organization leading positive social change and delivering value to people age 50 and over through information, advocacy, and service. And let us make the Space Shuttle Discovery our Northwood University free enterprise leader of the day. Discovery lands for the last time later this morning. It's Michael Patrick Shields live from the American Metal Roof studio. Back in a flash. I'll tell you who's coming up next here in our American Metal Roof studio and on Fox 47 television. We'd like good news. That song, Tell Us Something Good, is what we play when we've got some good news, and we sure do this morning on this Wildcat Wednesday, brought to you by Northern Michigan University in Marquette. We have a group of young, bright people who got up early this morning from right across the street here for the Michigan Association of Broadcasters Awards. And why don't we just go around our round table here and say your name, where you're from, and I understand all of you are award winners from the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. So tell us for what you won the award.
I personally did not win an award. I just happen to be the station manager of WUPX Marquette. My name is David Miller, and I'm from Metro Detroit.
So you deal with the Northern students on a regular basis?
Yeah, about 56 to 62 of them.
All right, that's great. Madam?
Hi, my name's Erin. I'm actually from Illinois, but I go to school at Northern.
Mm-hmm.
I won an award for the station update.
Station activities report.
Yeah, that one. And I'm the general manager of WUPX.
WUPX is the student station?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Bryce Burge. I grew up in Indiana, but I live in Marquette now to go to school at Northern. I actually come from the television side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I won the honorable mention for Best Talk Show with Cat Chat. It's a sports television show that I'm the assistant producer and also the main analyst for the Division II sports. And also I get the chance to work with these guys as the sports director for WUPX as well.
Sir.
I'm the production director over at WUPX, and I won the station activities report, second place with Aaron. Also a couple television play-by-play awards for a sports and special events class at Northern.
Where are you from originally?
The Chicago area. Moved around quite a bit.
Broadcasting. What did your parents say when you said, I'm going to go into broadcasting?
Can you make money at that?
That's what mine said.
Yeah.
And it was a long time ago. Not sure about the answer, but it sounds like you're good at it.
Well, we all go out there and try, and one of the things that his play-by-play experience came in a class that we have, a sports and special events class that has done a great job the last couple of years, has pulled awards. I know last year, I'm not sure about the year before that, but a lot of this stuff is just learning experiences for all of us, and we'll go out there and we do our best, and the whole Michigan Association of Broadcaster Awards is another way for us to go out and see how good we are, and if we're not that good, then we can learn from it, and that's ultimately what we want to do.
Do you get nervous?
Do I get nervous?
Yeah.
About what?
When you're, presenting.
No.
You're
really.
not nervous at all?
No.
Do you get nervous?
Not too much anymore.
None of you get nervous. You get nervous?
It must be a nice change.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you do stuff live every once in a while, we broadcasted our first live game over Radio X this last month. Did a club lacrosse game, and it was a little nervous in that because we're not exactly most up to date in the technical side of things. So it was kind of hard to get everything lined up. We had a 5-person crew, and it's something that we'd never done before. So it was kind of nervous then, but once you get into the swing of things and you start feeling comfortable and know who you got around you, then it makes it a lot easier, and you just trust and go with it. And when you feel natural about it, it's going to put a better product out there.
Who is your broadcasting hero?
My broadcasting hero, John Peel.
Who's that?
John Peel.
John.
From the BBC, he's dead. He did the John Peel sessions. He was a pirate broadcaster at one time. In England, he broke artists like the White Stripes, the Rolling Stones, a lot of different people in England.
How about yourself?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I really came from the journalism side of it. I'm also the assistant sports editor at the school newspaper, the Northwind. And
wow, you're busy.
Yes, I am. I was actually up till 4:45 this morning doing homework and writing my articles for this week because unlike the other schools that are at this conference, we are not on spring break. Our spring break was last week. So I had to trade some presentations to get out of classes, and I'm actually an economics major, so it's still tough to go in and get all your homework done, get your writing done, and get it done in time. So it's all kinds of busy right now.
You haven't slept last night?
I got about 30 minutes. That's all I need.
30 minutes is all you need. Wow. Well, at your age and the exciting things that you're involved in, I can see why you don't want to miss anything, right?
Exactly.
What about yourself? Was there some impetus that made you turn to broadcasting? Somebody you saw, read?
You know, there really wasn't one person. I started out back in high school at a high school station in Illinois, and as I've been at a bunch of different stations in the small market, I say my broadcasting hero is pretty much that producer who does everything in the small market. You know, I know back in Marquette, at one of the stations I work at, he comes in at 3:30. I mean, he's there till noon, and he does just about everything, and I think that that takes a lot.
No business like show business, huh?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. The awards dinner will be tonight. Will you all be there?
Yep.
Across the street at the Lansing Center, just down the street from us. We'll see you all there. I hope you can get a nap at some time today, especially you. Thanks again, and congratulations on your choice. I know many of you came from outside Michigan to come to Northern Michigan University. Must have been very impressed when you got up there to Marquette, and I know that Northern's impressed with you now, too, and so is the whole state of Michigan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't that terrific? The next era in broadcasting, right before your eyes here. It's Ash Wednesday. Father Mark Inglot will be with us from the St. John Student Parish and explain what those ashes on everyone's foreheads will mean today when you see them out in public. It's Michael Patrick Shields on radio and television from the American Metal Roof Studio in Lansing.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Wednesday to you. We are coming to visit you, Pat Ruddy. Next Thursday, live from Ireland, from County Clare, the Doonbeg Golf Club will be hopping on the Delta Jet and flying to Shannon, Ireland, and then broadcasting from Doonbeg Golf Club, which is right there on the ocean, just a little bit south of Lahinch, and we're taking all of you with us on television and radio, live, brought to you by the Resorts of Tullymore from Ireland on St. Patrick's Day. But before that, yesterday was what we call Shrove Tuesday or Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras or Punchki Tuesday in some cases. And this morning, live in our American Metal Roofs studio, is Father Mark Inglot, the pastor of the St. John Student Parish and St. Thomas Aquinas Parish, on what is now Ash Wednesday. All the merriment goes aside, and now we get to the serious stuff, huh?
Time to get serious. That's what Lent is all about.
There will be, it's very late this year, isn't it, Lent?
It is, because Easter is as late as it historically can be.
Really? It's
Yeah.
late April. How does
April
that
24th.
work?
We calculate it the way that they used to calculate Passover. The Jews used to calculate Passover on the old calendar. We have the Gregorian calendar now. So Passover is coming up in a couple weeks for the Jewish people because they use a different calendar. But Easter is the first full moon after the spring equinox.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. And equal day, equal night is the equinox, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, they've got that cleared up. So let's clear up some other things about Ash Wednesday and Lent. Lent is known as the 40 days of Lent, but if you go on that calendar and you count 40 days...
That's right, because that's a great question.
It's not 40 days on
It's
the
not because
calendar.
we're just bad at math and religion. It's because you don't count from Ash Wednesday to the first Sunday of Lent. You don't count those days.
Why not?
Because we want 40. And 40 is kind of, it's a number that's used a lot in Scripture. You know, Moses was 40 days wandering in the desert. Jesus was fasting for 40 days in the desert. There's 40 days of rain. So, 40 is supposed to be a significant religious number. And so that's why we want 40 days of Lent, to kind of mimic those biblical, stories. And so we don't count the Ash Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we start the first Sunday of Lent. And then we also once we enter Holy Week, after Palm Sunday, we don't count Holy Thursday, Good Friday, or Holy Saturday.
I see.
So those 6 days, take away those 6 days, and you'll come up with 40.
And now when you fast, or you give up something for Lent, or you make a
Right.
sacrifice,
I do.
on Sundays you have a free day?
Now, it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s in the seminary that I found out that some people don't use Sunday as their day of fast. And I was shocked by that, because in my family, my Italian, Polish, German family, it must be the Irish that didn't do Sundays. But the reason for that is because it's the day of resurrection, and so you're supposed to celebrate on a Sunday, the Lord's Day, even if it's Lent. But in my family,
we went wall to wall too. There were no breaks.
Yeah, I know.
And then I remember very often, not very often, but there was occasion, since you mentioned the Irish, where St. Patrick's Day would fall on a Friday. And so Cardinal Maida would waive the no-eating meat rule that day because of the corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was nice of him.
Yeah,
we don't have that problem
make
this
practical sense, too.
Now, the practice of putting ashes, you're going to see people today in the bank or in the office or in the courtroom, and no matter where, they're going to see them on television in a few minutes, who have ashes on their forehead, and you're going to get a bit of a double take from some people who say, what is that? Why is that?
We mark ourselves as Christians today. And what it's supposed to be, it's a external sign that is supposed to tell us and tell other people that we begin this interior journey to Easter, where through prayer and fasting and almsgiving, we want to become more like Christ and change. So it's one of those days where you can look around and you know who your Catholic brothers and sisters are, that's for sure.
Are we meant to feel a little of the pain leading up to Easter because of what we're sacrificing?
That's the idea. That's the idea of abstaining from meat on Ash Wednesday. We fast and abstain on Ash Wednesday and on Good Friday. And then we don't eat meat on the Fridays of Lent to remind ourselves what Jesus gave up for us. Now, fish being so big, we probably should eat meat on Fridays instead. But and I'm 55. I still give up Snickers bars.
Is that what it is?
I do. Yeah. In fact, I have one for you. One of our well-intentioned parishioners said, "Here, put this on your desk as kind of a reminder, and then this will make the giving up more significant." So I'm going to give this to you
because you can't look at it.
Actually, every Christmas a parishioner gives me a 48-count box of Snickers bars. So I eat one a week.
Oh, okay.
So by Lent,
That's
I still
quite
have a lot.
moderate.
I still have a lot. and so what I do is I leave that in my office, and then every time I go for one and I remember it's Lent, I think, I'd love to have one. Just like today, I got up and I'd love to have a coney dog or a big burger.
Yeah.
I don't know why you just get hungry for meat every
Figures,
Friday.
right.
And,
Psychological.
But what's good is when I go for a Snickers bar and think, it's Lent, and I think, you know what, there's some little kid in some third world country that is just hungry for anything today. And so I remember that person, and then I know that I should give up something, self-sacrifice, not a big word today.
Purposely exposing yourself to temptation.
This is true, and that's what makes it even more significant for me.
Yeah. See, my theory is, and I've read this from psychologists, that theft is not caused by greed; it's caused by opportunity, for the most part. In other words,
yeah, because I think basically we're good people, we're virtuous people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we heard about that. That there's a dentist in Okemos, I guess, who found a credit card in this parking lot and decided to have a couple of pizzas.
Cash in his
yeah, that wasn't because he went out looking for a credit card.
Exactly.
The devil put it in front of him.
Like you said, he had a
weak moment.
Yeah.
Must have been. But you're strong if you can look at that Snickers bar, because it wouldn't make it out of the studio.
It's many years of Lenten practice, though.
Okay, you've been building up a resistance.
Yeah. And this way, if I give it to you, then you can do the same.
I'll give it to you on Easter Sunday.
Okay, that's a deal.
I'll bring it.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'll keep it in the fridge so that it stays nice and fresh.
And Amanda doesn't eat it.
Amanda, well, let's not even get started there because we're in this. She won't give up anything for Lent because her husband's Catholic, but she's not.
Well, so you can do something extra, like be extra nice to your husband.
That's what I like that idea. I can do that.
Okay.
Be extra nice to my.
Yeah, like I also give up TV and screens. Spend less time on the computer and all that kind of stuff, so I can do some more spiritual reading. So, I do something extra as well as give something up.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully by Easter it makes me a better person.
And that makes the party on Easter that much more fun.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm willing to try. I'm giving up any sort of soda, diet, regular, you name it, cold turkey, and I'm hoping to lose 40 pounds in 40 days.
There you go.
So
perfect.
That's a good start. Anyway, so you can give things up. Some people say, well, why give things up? You should do something positive. Mm-hmm. Either way is okay.
I think both, sure. It should be both.
The ashes, where do they come from?
The burned palms from Palm Sunday. What people do is
from a year ago.
They return their palms that we gave out on Palm Sunday, and they bring them to their parishes, and then usually our maintenance person will take them and put them in a big cauldron and set them on fire and burn them, and then we put them in little containers, put a little bit of water on them so they'll stick.
Yeah.
And that's where they come from.
So can I get my ashes right now?
You sure can.
And you have services all day today at both churches for people who want to go.
Yeah, like I have the 9 o'clock all-school Mass at St. Thomas, and then I have the 12:15 Mass at St. John's. This is kind of a light year for St. John's because our students are on spring break.
Oh.
And so, last year we had Masses at 8, 10, 12, 15, 3, 5, 7, and 9. We had 1,000 at each one.
Wow.
It was amazing. So this is kind of an easy year for us.
More to the point, St. Thomas is where you'll get the big number of Masses.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to walk over there toward you, I think, just to let the TV people know that about the cameras. And your microphone will work, mine won't.
Okay.
Which is the way most of you listeners prefer it.
Okay, Michael. Turn away from sin and be faithful to the gospel. You're welcome. In the old days, it used to be, remember you are dust, and unto dust you shall return, to remind us of our mortality and the fact that one day we're going to be accountable and responsible for this gift of life that God gives us.
That was always sort of a spooky, sobering thought when you're a kid, because you go, they take you over to church during school and they say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Remember, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And then you think, well, you're thinking about that the rest of the day.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But you changed it a little bit.
We use the scripture now of turn away from sin and be faithful to the gospel, which is kind of the same difference, really. If you want to turn away from sin and be faithful to the gospel, that will remind you that you're going to be accountable and responsible someday for this.
So now I wear these all day.
All day.
And until I get home tonight and shower or whatever, then it's okay just to wash them
Sure.
off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the primer on Ash Wednesday. We've
welcome.
got more than 40 days to go till Easter, but there's a lot of there are a lot of benchmarks in between.
And with Easter being so late this year, people will actually be able to wear their Easter clothes and not have their winter coat over it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen snow on Easter. This will be nice.
It will be.
We got a long way to go before that, though.
God bless you, Michael. Patrick?
Thank you very much. And you can find Father Mark Inglet, one of the great speakers in the state of Michigan, by the way, at the St. Thomas Aquinas Parish and St. John Church and Student Center. That's here on the campus of Michigan State University. But if you're ever in the mood for a Sunday drive, make the drive, because it's very spirited. The music is terrific. And by the way, Father Joe Krupp, Sunday at 8, he said, "You're in luck. I'm going to give you a short homily because I got a little bit of a cold."
Yeah.
He still went 11 minutes. I was watching.
I hope he's up and listening.
God bless you, and happy Ash Wednesday, Father Mark Inglet. 18 minutes after the hour, live from our American Metal Roofs studio here in the state capitol. Back in a flash. 24 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields live from the American Metal Roofs studio in the state capital of Lansing, but heard on radio stations in Grand Rapids and Traverse City and Petoskey. It's a big old list, and you can find it at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. Former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld was on this program not that long ago, a couple days ago, and was in Grand Rapids speaking at the Gerald Ford Museum. And he said, by the way, he was on Piers Morgan on CNN yesterday, Donald Rumsfeld. So we had him before Piers Morgan with his new book, Known Unknowns, I think is what it's called. Anyway, Donald Rumsfeld was on the program and said he would not support sending U.S. troops into Libya. He said there's a big difference between Muammar Gaddafi and Iraq's Saddam Hussein. On the other end of our line right now, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Mike Rogers, the Republican from Brighton. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael. How are you today?
Thank you. What is the difference between Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein in terms of policy and our involvement?
Well, I'm not sure what he was speaking of when he talked about the difference. Both were despotic rulers that used violence to keep their folks in line. I think in Iraq, Saddam Hussein killed tens of thousands of his own people and used chemical gas on them and did all those horrible things. Muammar Gaddafi has not done that. But in this case, and I agree with him on sending troops in, I think that would be a mistake. I think any ground forces would be a mistake for us, including the administration's pondering of arming the rebels, which I think is another horrible idea and a horrible mistake. I do think a no-fly zone could be very beneficial. It does two things for the United States. It allows us to protect civilian strafing from military aircraft, number one. And there's a chemical stockpile there and a biological stockpile that we want to make sure doesn't fall into somebody's hands that wants to target and use it against the United States.
I heard on the network news this morning that Gaddafi says that if we impose a no-fly zone, that he will retort. I mean, what really can he do in that case?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you that in 2003, right after the invasion of Iraq, he called and said, hey, we've got nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, and we'd like to give them up. We got most of their missiles, we believe. There is still chemical weapons there, and there are some biological weapons we still believe there. So he has something at his disposal when it comes to those chemical and biological weapons. He also, could turn off all his oil spigots, and not that oil comes to the United States, but it would cause the world market to try to buy everywhere else, including here, and could cause a huge spike in gas prices. But I don't think you can allow a dictator to dictate the terms of which he slaughters his own folks with military aircraft.
We were noticing that the market, the stock market, is very nervous about what's happening in the Middle East, and there was some talk yesterday that Saudi Arabia, that could be the next spot for uprising. And that prospect maybe scares me more than anything, because that's easily, is it not, the most stable country for what it's worth in that region, and aren't we almost allies with Saudi Arabia?
Yes and no. I mean, we have human rights complaints with Saudi Arabia. We work with them on trying to get women equal rights in their society. And there's a lot of things that we disagree with them on. But as far as a stable monarchy, that tends to be one of the ones in the Middle East, and it produces quite a bit of oil for the world market. And one of the things we've been pushing our president on is they've closed down drilling off the coast of Louisiana, even in shallow rigs that have been operating for 50 years with no problem, and turned down drilling in places like Colorado and the Dakotas, and Alaska is on the decline in oil production. And you can't do that. I mean, this is the time, if we are going to bring stability to the world oil market, is we have got to turn on our oil wells so we know where they are, we know how to get oil out of there the most environmentally friendly way, and without doing it, the president is adding a 15%, as of today, surcharge on your gasoline purchases. That's why your prices are going up. So Middle East is down about 250,000 barrels a day. We've been stable and then declining over the last 2 years in our production, and that means more people want to buy it. Prices are going up, and then you get the market trying to figure out, will there be enough available, and that's why prices are going up. So I think the president could do a great thing by saying we're going to go after the 50 billion barrels that are in Louisiana and go get them.
Secretary Rumsfeld said, too, that he doesn't like the term a war on terror, because the term war makes people believe that there's a conflict with a sure beginning and a sure end. We, in our lifetimes, probably will never see an end to the war against al-Qaeda, will we?
It would hard for me to foresee a time, at least in our lifetime, where we could, declare victory on al-Qaeda. They're always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. Our goal is to disrupt them, to degrade their operational abilities, to make sure that they can't pull off attack in the United States or against our allies. And that is a lifetime venture for sure. And it takes the Muslim community here and other countries, Muslim countries, to start turning this tide on acceptance on jihad as a legitimate form of their political aims. And all of those things need to happen at the same time. But I'll tell you, when they are actively planning, we are going to be engaging them for the enemy that they are. They have declared war on the United States. They do try to kill innocent United States civilians, and it is something that we're going to have to continue certainly for the foreseeable future.
Can I ask you a simple question? We've been talking for 5 years now on a regular basis, and there are people who are listening to all of this, and maybe there's some people who are new to paying attention to these sorts of things. Why does the greater Middle East, the Middle East Street, the al-Qaeda, why do they hate us? Why do they hate America?
Well, you have to understand, when you look around the world, we have a lot. And the frustration that you see breaking out into the streets in Egypt and Tunisia, you have a young population that is actually very well educated by any standards, including U.S. standards, very connected. They have phones and internet and no hope for employment. And so there is this frustration that they want more from their government. They can now see, the rest of the world through new media gets to see what the rest of the world has, including the United States. When you're 20 years old and you've got a college degree, in Egypt or wherever, you decide, hey, that looks pretty good. I want it too.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this clash of wanting to improve their own station in life, and then you have the Wahhabist influence and other very extreme sects of Islam talking about the way the equality of women and all those things, and those things are wrong, and they're dominating not only here but the rest of the world because of our strong economy, and it all clashes together. And so I think it's a process to get there, and we continue to work to try to open up those societies and bring equal rights to the societies. We think you get women involved in those societies, and half your problem goes away, and that's just something we're going to have to endeavor to continue to do over the next few decades.
What's on your docket today?
Well, we are talking about net neutrality. The government, for the very first time, is trying to regulate the Internet. They just couldn't keep their hands off it and control what comes in and what goes out. And we're trying to fight that back. The FCC did an arbitrary ruling, and we don't think they even have the rule of law to back them up, to say that the government, for the first time ever, is going to start regulating the Internet and controlling who does what on the Internet. And me and a whole bunch of others think that is a really bad idea, so we're going to try to undo that.
You know what's hilarious to me, and maybe this is too simple, but we're seeing what's happening in the Middle East with the spread of information through the Internet. And here in the States, we want to start regulating it?
Exactly.
I don't get it.
And for somehow this great economic engine, one of the greatest, you look at cars and computers were two great economic engines that really changed our economy. Well, the Internet did the same thing. It really changed our economy to a very different place. And it did it all on its own, and the government wasn't involved in it. And now the government says, well, it's just you just need Washington, D.C. to get in there and muck it up and make it better. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, thanks for hanging in there for us. We sure appreciate it, and we'll be in touch soon. Happy Ash Wednesday to you, too, Congressman Rogers.
Yeah, thanks. Happy Ash Wednesday to you, Michael, and thanks to you and all of your listeners for staying involved.
All the best 35 minutes after the hour. That's all they're asking. Stay involved. So stay aware, and we try to do that for you every morning here from our American Metal Roof studio. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. Come on with me right now. It's Wednesday, Hump Day. It's an Ash Wednesday, too, as you can see if you're watching on Fox 47 television or listening on radio stations all across the state of Michigan. We're live here in our American Metal Roof studio, and we're going to go live to Indianapolis right now. Why? Well, because the Spartans, the Wolverines, and the rest of the Big Ten basketball teams are going there. And good for them, and lots of people we know are making that trip as well. I heard from Mitch Lyons the other day, Pat and Jen Gillespie. They're all going down there to Indianapolis to root on the Spartans after what's been a surprising year for the Jolly Green Giants. Chris Gall, our friend there, the Associate Director of Communications at the Indianapolis Convention and Visitors Bureau, is on the other end of our line. Good morning to you.
MPS, thanks for having me on, and greetings from Indianapolis, where we're basketball frenzied here and welcoming a lot of Michigan State fans. They're already taking to our streets, and I should say they're behaving, so we're happy to have them.
You know what? It's if you've never been to the Big Ten tournament, particularly in Indianapolis, the neat thing about it is, just as you said, you get into this, pretty compact downtown area. But when I say compact, I mean, you can walk anywhere. And you'll look down the street and you'll see big packs of people in red or green or orange, because they tend to stick together and party together. And it's almost as if you took all of the 11 Big Ten campuses and put them in one little town for the day, for the weekend. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're very compact, and I should tell you that, again, as it was last year and many years, we have an alumni from Michigan State who owns a bar called the Slippery Noodle, and that's the fan gathering spot for all of the Michigan State fans again this year. It's walkable from the field house where the games are actually taking place, and it's an incredible place to take in some food and libations. But yeah, so tomorrow, Thursday, Michigan State tips off. We're called about 4 p.m. Against Iowa, and I really think you guys should make it past Iowa, and then you'd face off against Purdue on Friday at 6:30 p.m. So we are bracing for a lot of basketball, and certainly as with last year, we see a lot of that Michigan State contingency coming down. What did it take you last year, MPS, to get to Indianapolis? How long?
Oh, I think it was 3.5 hours, maybe.
Yeah, not pretty
It's all
painless
freeway.
drive, and
No problem. It's great fun. And in fact, if you happen to be coming from the Lansing area, you can stop at Firekeepers Casino on your way or on your way back. Make a little trip of it, if you know what I mean.
That's a great idea.
But it's all freeway, so and you get down there in no time. And so, like you said, even if you haven't decided to go yet, tomorrow, if the game's not till 4, you can knock off at lunch, get there in time for the game, and have a big time. And that Slippery Noodle that you're talking about, Angela Whitwer has a big Spartan party there, and I went to it last year. And you see this place, and it looks kind of like a corner bar almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk in, and you just keep walking and walking and walking, and it's like a huge labyrinth of rooms and festive people upstairs and downstairs. And you say, "Wow, is everybody from Michigan State in this building today?"
Well, I tell you what, out of the 11 teams, and we paired them each with a restaurant or a bar, you guys get the coolest. I will tell you that in true transparency, that the Slippery Noodle, it's the oldest bar in the state of Indiana. It was a place where John Dillinger used to hang out. In fact, there are bullet holes attributed to him inside the bar.
Is that right?
Used to serve as a brothel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very fitting that Michigan State fans convene there in the Party Central location downtown Indianapolis. And we want to welcome all your listeners. And I know you're tied up, and I think of you every St. Patrick's Day, and I do a little cheers to you. But maybe next year we'll get you back down 3.5 hours drive due south to come back to Indianapolis.
Yeah, we kind of rotated. So one year we go to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day. The next year we stay home, so it'll work out perfectly. But I'm going to get to Indianapolis before then because it's a great place to go in the summertime for the reason that I just said. You can park yourself at a downtown hotel and spend the whole weekend with your kids going to all sorts of activities, and you never need a car. You can walk everywhere. It's just gorgeous and fantastic. And where do the Wolverines hang out? Because we're heard all over the state, and we got Wolverine fans who are coming down too. What's the Wolverine bar?
They're going to go to the Ram. The Ram is the official gathering spot for the Wolverines, and we see a lot of those folks down here already as well. So we're happy to have both teams and all the fans.
When you speak about the Spartans, they've always been criticized because they say, well, they don't take the Big Ten tournament too seriously because they're looking ahead to the NCAA tournament. This year, that is not the case. And they've really got Tom Izzo and his crew something to play for this time.
Well, they need that win and that automatic burst for the NCAA. But I tell you what, under Izzo, anything is possible. You guys certainly rally well and hard, and I would suspect to see you guys deep into this Big Ten tournament and maybe even having a chance to win it. So I think it'll be exciting basketball here from Basketball Frenzied Indianapolis.
Basketball, restaurants, shopping, all connected right downtown. Is there a central website for people to explore a possible visit, not only for the Big Ten tournament this weekend, but for the weeks and months coming up, maybe even the Indy 500?
Absolutely. VisitIndy.com. We also have an app you can download for free. It's the Visit Indy app to dissect the downtown and find out everything's going on. So I appreciate you having me on. I wish you safe travels to the homeland next week, and I hope to see you maybe for the Big Ten football championship here in December.
Oh, that's right. That's what we're going to do. I forgot all about that. That'll be fantastic fun. This is going to be a big year for Indianapolis, and then you got the Super Bowl around the corner, too.
I got your tickets on the 50-yard line. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'll put them in the mail. I hope I have the right address.
Yeah, me too. Hey, just being around the action is good enough for me. I don't even need to be on the 50. Just put me in Indy for a really good time with my friend Chris Gall. The Big Ten tournament starts Thursday, just a short drive here from the state of Michigan. 14 before the hour. Jim Tressel, Ohio State. Is he going to stay? We'll find out when we get back. That's the Ohio State fight song across the field, and we're beginning to wonder if Coach Jim Tressel will be sent down the road instead of across the field. Tim Stout, the veteran sportscaster from the NBC affiliate, here in the state capitol, and he's got his own program from 9 until noon. It's on 7:30 a.m., and you could hear it online anywhere you like. He's with us this morning. Good morning. Thanks for being available so early.
Good morning, Michael. How are you today?
I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Ohio State now that this news leaked out that Jim Tressel knew the players were, selling merchandise and trading for tattoos and whatever else they were doing. The announcement came in December, but he knew about it in April. What should he have done, you think, and how do you think this will all flesh out?
Well, he's had a pretty pristine image up to this point. It's interesting that in checking his contract, it's underlined that he has to report immediately all NCAA violations. He didn't do any of that. It's amazing that both Michigan and Ohio State had coaches who both have issues with the NCAA. The difference is Rich Rodriguez didn't win, so he was fired. Jim Tressel wins at Ohio State, so they emphatically said he's still the coach. But I don't ever remember anything close to where a coach a school finds its own coach $250,000 and suspends him 2 games, but is excited as heck that they still have him as the football coach, and that's simply because he wins. Let's be honest.
Well, Rich Rodriguez had some long practices, right, in the summertime when he wasn't supposed to have them or whatever, and everybody raised holy hell about that. And Jim Tressel not only let the offending players play in the bowl games, now it turns out that he knew about it, and maybe that factored into his decision at the time.
I just think, Michael Patrick, in modern-day college sports, these coaches either survive or don't survive on NCAA rules based on how they fare on the field. Ohio State would have a much bigger can of worms to deal with if they tried to fire the football coach with his record. I mean, if you remember, they fired the last guy, John Cooper, because he couldn't beat Michigan, okay? This guy never loses to Michigan, okay? So for all those ardent fans of college football powerhouses, I claim all this stuff doesn't make one iota difference to most of them so long as the coach wins. If he loses, it's a very convenient way to get rid of the guy. And had Rich Rodriguez have been able to win at Michigan anywhere near what John Cooper has, all those problems he had, I don't think would have been as magnified. Now, what it does to Ohio State's future is another matter, because they've got 5 players suspended for 5 games, and that's under, they've appealed that. I don't know whether this affects the appeal. And the other thing is the NCAA is going to come in and, these are self-imposed sanctions. The NCAA didn't do this, Ohio State did. So the NCAA could trump what the Ohio State's done. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But this is a very popular coach with a very serious penalty imposed by his own school, and he admits it, and he apologizes for it, too. And then you wonder about how much other hanky-panky goes on at Ohio State that we don't even know about.
If you were the athletic director at Ohio State University, would Jim Tressel be the coach next season?
Absolutely, and he has no options. If you fire a coach that popular, you better find the right replacement, and that would be impossible to do. Gene Smith, who's the athletic director at Ohio State, has got to pay for 32 programs. He has a $123 million annual budget. He has ardent fans there. All those fans want to do is win. It's a far smaller can of worms to deal with to get Tressel to fess up when guys get in trouble than it is to throw him out and find somebody else. But that, of course, is enlarged because this guy is a huge winner, and right there, that's the entire factor. Now, again, they're going to be on Tressel with these guys because cynics are going to say, well, I'll bet you there's other stuff going on at Ohio State people don't even know about, and that's what the NCAA may want to look into as well.
Maybe it's time to just give up the charade of not paying the players anymore if it's going to be financial decisions that make make the judgment calls in a case like this. Maybe it's just time to go ahead and shoot the hostage and get it all over with. I don't know, but you can bet that Tim Stout will be talking about it today on his program on 7:30 a.m. if you happen to be in Lansing at 9 until noon, and you can listen online anywhere in the state to Stout on Sports. Thank you very much. The Dean is what they call him because, wow, he's been around a long time here covering Big Ten issues. The Space Shuttle Discovery is going to land today. It's already beginning final approach. Let's tap into NASA, hear what we can hear about the Space Shuttle. It's supposed to land, weather permitting, in Florida at Cape Canaveral somewhere just before noon today, 11:57 a.m. Eastern Time. It's significant because it's the last time Discovery will land. It's going to the mothballs after this or to a museum. And here's what's happening right now as they begin to bring Discovery home.
Good deal. Thanks. We're ready.
Supposedly the weather, you may hear in a minute here, is better than they expected. It was supposed to be windy in Florida, but the conditions right now are not as bad as they'd expected. So that is very, very good news for those who are expecting that space shuttle, which lands like an airplane to make its way home today. The first launch was in 1984 of the Discovery shuttle. And remember, the orbiter that you'll see land is only part of the space shuttle. We'll tap back in next hour, radio listeners, if you'll stay with us for another hour. Television viewers, thanks for being with us this morning. Let's make the Space Shuttle Discovery the Northwood University Leader of the Day. Northwood University celebrating free enterprise and leadership. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Back after
and all the muchachas, they call me Big Papa. When I